Hey everyone, John Wetz here again with Spirituality, and today I want to talk about just kind of what following my leap of faith basically did for me and the change in my life that happened. So anyway, like I said before, I've moved out to Orlando, and I live real close to Universal Studios. I'm actually walking by there now. This is one of the hotels, one of my favorite ones, the Portofino. I'll end up showing you guys a few different things today. I'm not going to actually go into the parks and everything because it's kind of crowded. So I actually managed to get into the park even though it was at capacity earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of things that I get to do on like a daily basis, or pretty much whenever I want, because I live so close by. I know may not seem the most practical to, uproot your life to come out here, but it's what made me happy. And kind of what I'm trying to show to people is there's nothing stopping you from letting yourself be happy besides your own choices. I made the choice to come out here. This is the life I wanted for a while. I don't know if it's life that's going to be here, forever for me, but it's the life that I want right now. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the clips. I now return you to your regular scheduled video. So one of the biggest things that I did was just honestly take a leap of faith. And it really wasn't a leap in most people's eyes. It was just kind of doing a simple thing for myself. But at the time it was kind of a leap because I wasn't doing anything for myself. And that first little thing that led to all this, sorry, there's a helicopter going overhead, was, as strange as it might sound, just buying myself a guitar. I was basically sitting in the car one day, and I'd been sitting for like 5 hours just crying, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life, if I even wanted to live it anymore. Like I was gone. And music has always been something that was like really important to me, something that really brought my soul to life for a bit. And so I just decided I was going to buy myself a guitar and start getting back into music a little bit. And that was like the first step that I took to just kind of transform my life. And it led to a lot of spots that I never thought it would. Like basically I went from basically sitting in my house all day long playing video games or just doing absolutely nothing on the days that I was just too depressed to even do that, to moving like 1,000 miles away from where I was living to a completely different state where I knew no one, had no friends, but I didn't really have friends where I was living at the time anyway. But I went from having like nothing really going for me to having this wonderful area to walk around. I'm going to show you again real quick the Portofino from a different angle. You'll get to see it one more time as I go by it, because honestly I think this place is just kind of beautiful. So some of this video is going to be a mixture of a little sightseeing for you and a little bit of story mode, I guess. But just getting from where I was, where it was just never doing anything I wanted and just basically sitting in depression and misery all day long, to buying that guitar, that ultimately led to me making this move, because it just gave me that little burst of happiness to keep going for a bit. It wasn't the end all be all. It wasn't the final thing. It was just a step that In no real way does it seem like it's connected, but I can see how it's connected at this point. So here's the last view I'm going to give real quick of the Portofino. It's a big hotel. It's actually remodeled after the Portofino Bay in Italy. And it's honestly one of my favorite places. Taking the boat ride over to the parks is incredible. Like, it's super fun and just very relaxing, honestly. But if you had told me, you know, a couple years ago that I would be living here and this would be my daily life, I would have laughed in your face and told you that that's not happening. There's no way. Sorry for the mess, but I'm on Universal property at this point, so I kind of have to have it on. But anyway, thinking of how something so unrelated to moving to a place like this, like buying a guitar, led to just that happiness change to let me move forward with my life instead of just being stuck in that depression state over and over and over. Sometimes the leap of faith you have to take isn't this massive thing that you think it is. Sometimes it's just taking a step, reaching out to the universe and telling yourself that you want something new, you know? It's just, God bless the magic of fogging up with the glasses. This is one of my favorite spots here. I know it's kind of silly. It's just a little greenery way, but I think it's kind of pretty. And then you got this nice little canal here where the boats go through. It's sorry, I'm taking in the beauty of it again. Honestly, you're just kind of experiencing me at the moment, appreciating where I'm at. It's one of my favorite little pathways here. It's like walking through this little magical village almost. So beautiful. Okay, so now I'm stationary, but should be able to focus a little bit more. Sorry for the choppiness of everything. There's a lot going on here since it's a busy day at Universal, but anyway, let's talk about that leap of faith a little bit and why I consider even buying that guitar taking a leap of faith. Buying that guitar when I was at a really low point, it kind of was a leap of faith because honestly, I was almost hopeless at that point. I didn't see how I was going to be happy again. I didn't even know if I wanted to be happy again. Like, I was just kind of at that point where I kind of had to choose. Do I want to even fight back my way into life, or do I want to give up? Because I was just broken. But real quick, and take you over here, hopefully not blinding you too much with the sun, but that's City Walk right over there at Universal. I'm sitting just outside of it right now at like the pass to the hotels. Again, this is stuff that I get to see like every day. Like, I'm within walking distance of it. It takes me like 20 minutes to get here. It's awesome by walking. But when I took that leap of faith of buying the guitar, it led to me finding a little bit of happiness in life again. Slowly but surely, I started finding more and more happiness and learning I was allowed to do stuff for myself to pull myself out of those dark places and out of that depression. When I started sinking back into it again and really having a hard time, I decided to go like super big with it. And I decided I was going to do a trip out here to Orlando. I wanted to do both the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal, and I wanted to do Disney, like actually experience it all. So I took kind of like a last-ditch trip, figuring if I can't find happiness here, I'm probably not gonna. And I know there's a lot of people that don't consider this, you know, the spiritual place to go. A lot of people go to more nature-y type things, but for me, this honestly, it's happiness and it's home. And the moment I walked through the gates at City Walk and just saw this over here, I walked in and, well, actually this is basically the entrance that I went into, to be honest with you, because I walked this path. Or actually, I think I took the boat the first time. I'll try to show you the boats here in a minute. But when I first did that, hearing the music, seeing the arch, seeing the coaster over there and everything, I came alive again for the first time. I felt genuine happiness, genuine hope, genuine excitement. And I hadn't felt that in like a while. The last time I felt it was like the year before when I decided to buy myself the guitar. And it was just realizing that I could do that for myself. And I know it sounds silly, but because some people out there, you know, they do that stuff for themselves all the time, but I wasn't one of those people. I had a lot of guilt almost for being happy when I saw so much suffering in the rest of the world. You know, I was like, well, there are people that can't even eat. Why should I be spending my money on doing something like this for me when I could be donating it to other people? And I mean, it's kind of a fair point, and I still argue that in my head sometimes, but honestly, one thing that I heard, I think it was from Abraham Hicks, that made a lot of sense to me is you can't make yourself sick enough to make somebody else feel better. Just like I can't make myself unhappy enough to make somebody else happy. I can't starve myself enough to make somebody else feel full and, be able to eat. I have to take care of me too. And that's what a lot of that became, was me realizing that I'm really no good to people when I'm in like that miserable state. I have a lot of potential to reach a lot of people and talk to people and help them see the best version of them, but I can't do that if I'm not being the best version of me. And so taking that leap out here, it changed everything in my life. I'm honestly kind of stumbling over words at the moment, but I just felt like I really needed to share with people kind of the difference. Because like I said, I was basically just sitting there playing a video game, which there's nothing wrong with that. I still do it sometimes and I still enjoy it. And there's plenty of people that enjoy it. I had friends online and whatnot that I still talk to that I consider great friends. But I was just getting by in life, There was nothing that was making me feel genuinely excited. I had gotten all I could get out of what I had been doing in life. And I wanted more, but I didn't know how to get more, and I didn't feel deserving of more. And finally, I just decided I've got to do something. And this was my something, was deciding to come out here. And going from just staring at walls some days and barely feeling like I wanted to do anything, not leaving the house, just eating my emotions, getting up to I think it was almost 360 pounds back then. In the time that I've moved out here, I've dropped back down. I'm just under 300 now, which, still big, but hey, it's almost 60 pounds in about 2 years. It feels a lot better. And just as I made all those changes to make myself happier, everything started coming into alignment. I moved out here, and within 3 weeks of moving out here, I found some friends. And I hadn't had real life friends that I went and did stuff with for, God, years. Hardly at all for the last probably 6-7 years. There'd be friends, but not a lot. It was a few times a year rather than like it is now, where it's multiple times a week. I found what felt like, or what feels like, soul family almost. It's people that just I had this instant connection with, and it happened so quickly once I decided to move out here. And part of why I'm saying take the leap of faith, and I feel it shouldn't take me long to this point, but when you start changing what you want from the universe and start taking that leap of faith, it will reward you. It really will. It wasn't all me that made this happen to move out here. I took the initiative to decide this was the direction I wanted to go. When I walked through those gates the first time, it went through my head of, God, I'd love to live here. But then the gears started turning. It's there's no way I could. This is going to be an expensive place to live. It's not cheap, but it's not unaffordable either. And it took from about 2018 and that thought of I want to move out here to the early part of 2020 for me to actually be able to get out here. When I decided to move out here, things just kind of conspired in my favor. The amount of money that I had to pay to simply get the apartment that I was in, I think I paid under $500 for move-in deposit and everything. That's unheard of, especially in an area where everything is within 3 miles. The location can't be beat. I figured it was going to cost me, a few $1,000s just to move in. I had been saving for it when I found out that it was, basically I was going to be moving in here with no furniture or anything. And when I found out that, it's I think it was $470 to move in, I was just well, that changes things. That makes it out a lot easier, And it's funny because I see this a lot with a lot of other people. The moment they first take a step in the direction they want to go, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be a big step at all. It can just be the tiniest thing. And I'll tell you a story about that in a moment with a friend of mine. The tiniest step can make the universe just start unfolding in the most massive ways for you. A friend of mine, she'd been wanting to change jobs, and she was thinking about maybe leaving the one that she was at, but she didn't have anything lined up. And I don't remember the exact timeline on this, but she decided that she, rather than just quit the job, was going to request more time off, have an extra day off a week. And within a couple days of making that decision and talking to her boss and being hey, I need more time, an interview came available for a place that she would rather work at, a crystal shop. And it was just it kind of blew her mind, and it just re-solidified this idea to me that the universe does listen to us. It responds to us. It gives us more of what we put out. She started putting out the idea that she wanted to change. In my mind, I tend to be like very on the extremes, you know. It's like, oh, I probably would have, if I was her in her shoes, quit the job and been like, oh, this is the step I have to take. You know, I have to completely let go of that. She didn't think she had to fully let go. She just had to make a small change. And that was actually kind of telling to me as well, because it's like all she had to do was take that small step of, hey, I want a little less of this. And in turn, the universe is just like, how about a whole lot of what you want? And, you know, she's starting the job, I think, here this next week. It happens super fast. And I think that's something that we underestimate as well, is how quickly a situation can change. We start getting this roadmap of how it has to go and what it has to look like in all the steps that are going to be needed to obtain whatever it is we're wanting. Reality is, the universe sometimes just streamlines that and is just like, nah, I'm going to move all this other shit out of the way, and this is what you're going to get. Other times, it's going to put a lot more shit in your way to make sure it's what you want. Not really sure what makes it decide to behave like that, but it does. I'm not saying that when you take your first leap of faith that it's going to be life-changing, where you move to a place that you want to live and your dream job and dream relationship and everything. Like, everything definitely hasn't come into place for me for like all pieces of my life. Believe me, there's still frustrations. There's still days that I'm just like, oh my God. And there were points when I was getting out here where it was like, did I make the right choice? God, this is scary. It's kind of terrifying, actually. Maybe I should turn back. But deep down, I knew I shouldn't, and I knew I wasn't going to, you know, no matter how scary it got. Sometimes that next step that you have to take, it's not your final destination. It's just, I didn't mean that to sound as ominous as it did with, you know, that being the name of those movies, but sometimes it's just a stepping stone to what you're really wanting in life. Because sometimes when you're at that point where you're so low, like I was then, the biggest thing I could dream of was buying that guitar. Like, I couldn't really see past, I couldn't see anything bigger than that. It was just a small thing. And not that that can't be a big thing for someone, but it was just, I didn't dare to dream of like changing my living situation, changing everything in my life, changing my habits, changing my hobbies, changing my food, you know, I was not ready to make those changes. The only change I was ready to make was buy myself a little something, because honestly, that was a change. I had gotten to the point where I would argue myself out of buying like a drink at the convenience store because, well, I don't really need it, you know? Like, it got to a point where I was just, I felt very undeserving of like everything. So going from that change to now where it's like, no, I deserve things. I've seen that reflection in the universe. Like, so much has been opened up to me just by changing that belief and telling the universe and taking steps towards things I wanted. A bunch of random things would just align perfectly to let me get what I wanted. That removed a lot of the work that I thought I'd have to do. Admittedly, some of these things have also led to stuff that I wasn't so excited about, and it didn't turn out the way I thought it should. But some of that I don't even have like the reason for or why it turned out how it did yet. But some of it, I can see why it turned out how it did and how it turned out better. And I think there's actually a boat coming, so I'm going to detour for just a second so you can kind of see these little fun little boats that go by here. Yeah, it's going right through there. That was the first path that I took over to Universal when I first got here in 2018 for just like a little trip. It's honestly relaxing. I know it's silly, but God, I love those things. Anyway, trying to derail my thought. Shouldn't have done that. Hold on. I'm not saying just because you decide to, you know, treat yourself to something, whether it's a pair of shoes or a nice meal or, you know, buy yourself a TV or take a small trip or something, that it's going to be the most life-changing thing that's going to lead to, you know, you like winning the lottery or getting your dream job, dream house, dream relationship, dream anything. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes, like I said, it's just going to take you to the next part of your life. It's going to lead you out of the current chapter you're in, especially if you're stuck, and lead you to a chapter that's going to be transformative for you. It may not be, you know, the end all be all for you, but it will be a necessary step to give you the experiences you need to get to a point that you might not even be able to dream of yet. And that's kind of one thing that's shifted my mind as well. For a while, I was kind of like, I was willing to accept like discount versions of the things I wanted. I was willing to accept less than what I thought I wanted because I didn't feel like I deserved it. And I've just tried really shifting my mind now from, well, this is sort of like what I want, so I'll go with that, to, no, I'm going to get exactly what I want, or I'm going to wait for something better. You know, it's not, I'm kind of done with the compromising part right now. Maybe I'll come back to that at some point. I don't know. But it's like, I'm tired of settling. I want what I want. And if what I want doesn't come to me yet, I'm going to trust that something better is on the way. Rather than thinking, oh, God, you know, nothing's happening for me. My life sucks. Everything's awful. When I focused on that, and believe me, I focused on that for years. That's all I got. Like, everything was awful. Once I started deciding I was going to live and be happy, everything got good. And honestly, it happened a lot faster than I ever thought it would have. Like I said, it started in 2018, like kind of that turnaround. 2017, I guess, was the turnaround when I bought the guitar. But 2018 was like the big trip that kind of was the catalyst to me deciding to move and everything. It took 2 years for that to come to be, but 2019 was all kind of this like self-growth stuff. It involved a lot of like solo trips where I went and did stuff by myself for quite a while. And one of them actually was a trip out here again by myself, but I wanted to do it by myself. You know, I hadn't really done any trips by myself ever, other than, you know, unfortunately, one for a funeral. And that's not a reason to take a trip by yourself. But, you know, that trip that I took out here in 2019, it was supposed to last for like 5 days. Through all kinds of magic in the universe, it managed to last, I think it was like a total of 23, 24 days. Some squirrels fighting over there. But I was honestly kind of amazed at how that worked. It was like timeshares came available free or very cheap. Hotel rooms were heavily discounted randomly. And I think this was like the middle of May, so it wasn't like a super calm time. It was actually approaching, you know, busy time for the parks out here. So it didn't make that much sense for it to be super discounted. But, you know, I didn't have a lot of money for it. It really didn't cost me much more than the 5 days did because of how it all worked out. A few friends that I didn't prompt at all, that I, you know, helped out with money over the years, just spontaneously decided, hey, I feel like paying you back now. You know, I never asked for it back anyway, but they just decided out of the goodness of their heart at that exact moment, hey, thank you for helping me, you know, I want to pay back to you. And that enabled me to get, you know, more park tickets and do stuff out here and stay out here longer. It was just a lot of random events that I couldn't have planned for, that enabled me to turn what was a 5-day trip into almost a month. And I mean, there were hiccups along the way. Like, that trip started with my shoes breaking and me being all kinds of frustrated over that, my debit card of all things breaking as well. So those both things happened like 10 p.m. the night before I was getting on the plane to come out here at 6 a.m. So there was no time to even fix the debit card, and there was all kinds of drama with that, you know, trying to get a debit card mailed to me because I was changing hotels and stuff. They're like, well, we can't mail it to, you know, a hotel that you're not going to be at. We need a room number and all this stuff. There was a lot of little challenges in there, but looking back, I can see where those challenges were teaching me that I could handle those challenges in whatever scenario I found myself in. Because honestly, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself to navigate that kind of crap at the time. But that gave me a lot of confidence that I can come out here on my own and I'm going to be okay. You know, it may not be easy. I might get thrown for a loop, but I'm resourceful. I can do it, and I'm strong. So don't be so afraid of the things that your leap of faith might lead you towards. The experience may not be enjoyable at the time, but eventually you'll be able to look back and see a purpose behind it and see where it made you stronger, see where it made you better. And I know that sounds like a load of, you know, just blowing smoke up your ass and whatnot and trying to sound happy and peachy and whatnot. I honestly roll my eyes at those concepts for the longest time because I was like, you know, that's not for me. I'm not all about that hoity-toity, or not even hoity-toity, but just kind of, you know, not about that feelsy-good life kind of thing. I was prided myself on being more of a realist and be like, no, I'm going to see things for what they are. Reality is, things are what they are because of what you see them as. You can either see them as awful or you can see them as awesome. There's a lot of different ways to look at different circumstances, and what you focus on is what you're going to get more of. My life didn't change until I started focusing on the positive. And honestly, I can switch it back right now to the negative. I've done it a few times accidentally because I caught myself getting all caught up in different things that were going on and saw myself just, oh my God, everything's awful out here. But everything's not awful out here. Everything's amazing out here. It's amazing every day if I let it be. It's just me getting in my own way because I decide things aren't good. So anyway, I'm going to start wrapping this up. I've been kind of rambling a bit. I know I probably went on little side tangents here and there, but the biggest thing I can tell you guys is just take those leaps of faith. They're not going to turn out the way you think they should, but they're going to turn out the way that they need to, and it's going to allow for a lot of growth for yourself. And honestly, it's going to change your life. It changed mine. There's a lot of stories like mine out there where people took these little leaps of faith, and some of them had, a hell of a ride on the way, and they're still on their way to wherever they're going. But taking that leap of faith really paid off. They can see where everything got better. And I'm one of those. I just kind of wanted to share that story with you, and hope it resonated with somebody out there. Anyway, love y'all, and I'll catch you guys soon.